Y'all ready for this?
Hello, and welcome to the 20th episode of Kissed by Fire, the podcast coming to you...
20th!
The podcast coming to you while we live it up in Then Valley, toasting the Magnar up here and admiring his beautiful bronze weaponry. I'm B-Word.
And I'm Steph Lioness. Today we start a new chapter in Fire and Blood by George R.R. Martin. The prequel... That's the prequel to the main Aswaf series and the history of life when Targaryens brought dragonfire to Westeros and ruled it as a continent for the very first time.
But before we move into the chapter, we want to get some housekeeping done. Last time we had the amazing guest, Lady Gwen from Radio Westeros, discussing with us what happened when good Queen Alysanne flew to the wall on Silverwing but could not get past the wall. No matter how hard she tried, the dragon would not go.
No, and that was a banger episode, and we loved talking to Lady Gwyn, and we were honoured by her appearance on our show, so thank you so much for joining us.
Honestly. And another person we need to thank is our patron from the Queensguard level, Crispy the Song of Ice. Your support means everything to us, and it literally keeps us making this show.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Crispy the Song of Ice.
Thank you so much.
We do. If you too would like to help support us so that we can continue going and producing content, you can also find us on Patreon, where there are a number of tiers, starting not crying tears, like lovely cake tears, starting at $5 American a month, and lots of ways to join in the fun. And in exchange, you get more content, access to the Patreon-only Discord, shout-out, swag, and so much more. This month, I sent out a quizzed by fire. I haven't had any answers back yet, but I know Julie Beth has been doing it, but I wonder if it's just too tricky.
Maybe you're...
Some of the questions were really tough. And I did do an essay question at the end. There was like a essay question.
You're hilarious. That's mean. An essay question. I would be like, no.
Would you like to know what the essay question was? What did Ned promise Lyanna?
Wrong answers only.
So I was hoping for some wrong answers, tinfoil. I want to know, like, I was going to give, like, I was thinking I'll give a prize to the best, maybe most ridiculous or hilarious or really well thought through. I just think it would be great. I could send out little swag to people if they send those back in. So if you've done it, send it to me. I want to know how you did. And I want Beth
if you're not a Patreon and you just want to send in an answer to that question,
yes, we would
love that. So feel free to reach out, and you can chat with us on Blue Sky at Kissed by Fire Pod. .bluesky.social. Twitter, though, we're really not really there. We're just Kiss Podcast at Twitter or something like that.
Yeah, we are, yeah.
And then email is another great way to reach us, and we are kissbyfirethepodcast at gmail.com.
We certainly are. It's probably a good place to send your essay questions.
That's the best place, I think.
And I was a teacher for a long time, so I will mark you with...
Oh my gosh. And you know what? She's going to be like all over your punctuation and shit.
I will be. I will. Spelling,
that's my like biggest weakness with my dyslexia is I'm just like, grammar just never took from my brain. So I'm getting better, but I'm not great. And I'm a terrible speller. And so when I have to do sit down exams, which are like new for me, because even at my stage of students, like we didn't have them through COVID. So anyway, it's not fun, and I don't do well, and I tell the professor to be nice to me because I'm a terrible speller.
Well, I'll be nice to you. I'll
spell check with you at least.
Yes, exactly. I'll be nice. But anyway, now we've told you how to get in touch or support us, we can start the chapter. We thought the last one, which was Jaehaerys and Alysanne, their triumphs and tragedies, needing to be broken down into 4 parts, was actually... We thought that was ridiculous and huge, and we thought, that's crazy. We've had to break it down into four episodes just to get it there. But
Steph was looking over this chapter and realized that George had outdone himself once again. And this chapter, the long reign policy, Progeny and Pain, is over 60 pages long and double what we just covered. And literally like stuffed packed full of content and really random stuff, as you'll find with this episode.
Yeah.
Yes,
random stuff. Yeah, so for our sanity and your listening time, because you haven't necessarily got 6 hours for us to break down like
60 pages of a chapter.
We're Yeah, 60 pages. I think that would take...
Can you imagine?
That would be more than 60
That would be like...
That would be like 24 hours a marathon.
Do you ever see like...
I'm trying to get
It's probably relatable to some listeners, but like those like old school... I don't know, old school. People probably still do them. We're just old and we don't do them. But like, you know, computer parties where everyone like gets their computer and like hangs out in an apartment for a weekend and there's pizza and popcorn and like junk everywhere. That would be us doing the entire chapter. It would be heavenly. It would be so fun.
Yes. I think that would be awesome. We'd have to sleep at some
We'll book a trip to Scotland and we will just like live stream for like a week trying to cover a chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be amazing. So yeah, but anyway, we didn't want to do that because, you know, we have like lives and so do you. Yes. So we're going to break this chapter down into nice little chunks. I hate that word.
Chunks?
Such a horrible word.
Yeah, that is a bad word.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to do that. Small little soupçons so that we can really do what we like to do, which is get right into the information George R.R. Martin throws at us in this absolute behemoth of a chapter. You know how we like. We like to get in there.
We do. We like to chew. We like to chew on that meat for a while. So this time...
Suck the marrow.
Exactly. I almost said something dirty and I stopped myself. Okay.
No.
So this time, we are covering, get ready for it, guys. I actually think we've done fewer pages than this in a podcast and still done it for a while. We are covering 5 pages or so. Literally, like, it's like the first 5 pages. On my audiobook, it's like 13 minutes. But I promise that we will talk about it for a lot more than 13 minutes, because it is full of amazing lore and history and mysteries and, you know, maybe some foreshadowing. I'm not really sure. So it's our favorite kind of stuff.
Yeah. Our favourite sort of stuff. Yeah, we this week we're going to open where we left off. So where King's Landing was celebrating the 10th anniversary of Jaehaerys' coronation. And they were having a tourney. Everyone was happy. Things were looking up after some pretty shit stuff. You know, Araya had kind of disappeared and then came back with worms in her body. But everyone's happy now.
My lover died. Okay. And they glossed over it. So I'm still grieving.
They glossed over it. Yeah. They were just like, and then Rhaena died. Boop. Yeah. The end. However, everyone might be happy. But as the chapter finishes, comes to a close, it says, but winter was coming. And so... as this new chapter starts, there was a certain ship that had disappeared off into the Sunset Sea years before. Do you remember that? It's not Sunchaser and Alyssa Farman,
kind of. I mean,
but one of the boats that went with her. It was Sir Eustace Hightower's boat, Lady Meredith. And he comes back from his adventure and he has some interesting tales to tell. So we're going to be talking about what happened when Eustace Hightower got back today. So get ready for some weird shit.
It's funny, we're doing this like shit. Fire and blood, and literally in this chapter we don't talk about any Targaryens.
No Targaryens in this one. It's a Targaryen free. Dragons. It's like Andor. You know, Disney's Andor.
Yes.
One like of my best favoritist ever.
It was so good.
Things I've
season
ever
2
seen
is
on
coming
TV,
soon.
ever. I know, but it's amazing because it's a Star Wars story and it features no Jedis and none of the Force. Nothing. Yeah. But it's still one of the best things.
But it's like what a lot of people love Star Wars for. It's just like the common people, and that is true with this too. It's sort of just what the other people do to pass their time without their dragons.
Eustace Hightower common.
No, he's not. Neither of them are common. No, but I just mean like it's just like what the non-Targaryens do to get through.
Yeah.
To get through the day.
Exactly.
Yes, so you want to kick in with your maester voice? Do you want me to try?
Would you like to?
Would I like to and will I for our listeners are two very different things. Okay. I can't do a maester voice. I'm not good at it. But I could.
All right. I'll do it then. Okay, here we go. On the 7th day of the 59th year after Aegon's conquest, a battered ship came limping up the Whispering Sound, stained, her paint faded and flaking, the banner streaming from her mast so sun-bleached as to be unrecognisable. Not until she was tied up at dock was she finally recognised in her sorry state. She was Lady Meredith, last seen departing Old Town almost 3 years earlier to cross the Sunset Sea.
It is so funny how George will drop this little thing of information early on, and then you come back, and I was like, so I'm reading this, I'm like, who the fuck was Lady Meredith? Like, what did I miss? It was like, this boat. I was like, oh yeah, that guy. Yeah. But it's like, you don't really think that there's going to be a continuation to the story necessarily, and yet here we are talking about this for like 5 pages. Yes, so he's got some interesting stories to tell.
Yeah, Eustace Hightower. Is he the grandson? I feel like I should have researched this. Is he the grandson of the Lord Hightower at the moment, or is he the son?
I thought he was just a younger son, because his other brother, who I think was the heir, had died. Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about it in a second.
Have a tab. Yeah, I have a Eustace Hightower tab.
Oh, Lord Donald's grandson.
I can tell you.
Lord Donald's grandson.
Yeah, Lord Donald. I thought he was a grandson.
Yeah, you're right.
That's very cool. So yeah, he's the grandson of Lord Donald Hightower. I think definitely a younger one though.
Yeah, because his brother had also sailed on another ship, if you guys remember.
Yes, he had. What was his brother called again? Oh, God, I don't know. Well, we really should know this.
We'll cut out a bunch of this stuff. We'll just
Norman. His name was Norman. I remember it was
that's
like
why we didn't remember.
Like Norman and Eustace.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, nothing wrong with the names.
There's nothing wrong with the names Eustace and Norman. No, but it's just like it's not a super memorable name. It's just not what you expect.
Yeah. It's not, and also because we've been doing Targaryens where they're all Daella and Flelula and Jaehaerys, and then like
when I think of the name Norman, I always have like and obviously this man has a last name, but like I always think of like a last name in my brain, so it's like Norman Mailer, like true, it's a continued.
It's the same for me with Colin Firth, like Colin, but Colin Firth, yes. Yes, I would do that. Yes. I followed him round once to look at his bottom.
Did you? You're a legend.
I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it wasn't just in the streets. He came to my school to see if he wanted to send his children's there. And he was there, and I saw him, and he was there with his ex.
Oh my God. Do you know, I've seen quite a few famous people in person, but Colin Firth might be one that I would, like, swoon over.
Oh, I swooned, but he didn't know I was standing behind him.
The whole time.
I will not go to my lessons today. I will go and just follow you. I will follow him.
Yes, yes you will.
Because it was Anyway, sorry, enough about Colin Firth's bottom. But yeah, they... basically, the ship is back, looking pretty unrecognisable.
Yeah, it's pretty worn down.
A clue as to... Like, it's a bit of a... As an opening, it's kind of obviously trying to say it's not like they had a really easy time.
It's not an easy go.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's foreboding, basically,
Indeed.
that it's unrecognisable. And then he jumps in further and it's like, as the crew began to disembark, throngs, I'm sorry, but I hate that word as well. It's like thongs.
What's wrong with thongs?
They go up your butt crack. It's very uncomfortable.
Or between your toes if you're wearing sandals. Do you guys call them that? Thong sandals?
Oh, okay. We do not call those thongs. No.
Interesting.
We do not. No, thongs are specifically underpants.
Which is fine. I also enjoy those. I enjoy thongs in all the ways.
I do not.
I'm good.
No, thank you. Anyway, so thongs of merchants, porters, whores, seamen. Not that kind of seamen.
It's funny that seamen followed whores. That we are into this very early.
Of course, seamen follows whores. Yeah. So, yeah, and thieves, they all gaped in shock. And this bit's weird. I'm like, are they gaping in shock because the ship looks so shit? Or is it because of the sentence that follows? Because 9 of every 10 men coming ashore were black or brown. Were they shocked by seeing so many brown people?
I think so. I think Westeros is quite white. And so they probably were like, where did they end up? Right?
But they've seen people. They've seen merchants. They are in a ship merchanty.
Totally. But what I mean is that I'm not saying they've never seen a brown or a black person, but I'm just saying, like, the idea was that they were going to go across the Sunset Sea. So to come back with a bunch of shipmates that obviously aren't from Westeros, it's like maybe they made it. So okay. I think it's partially that. I think maybe it's partially that.
Well, they all wanted to know. Like, did it go across the Sunset Sea, where the peoples of the lands that they found in the West, where they like these people, it says, as dark-skinned as Summer Islanders. I was wondering, is this the first time we've heard of the Summer Islands in this story? I'm not sure.
I don't believe so. I think that they come up earlier than this.
Really?
Even just with trade.
I might do a quick search. Some of the...
Do you ever think that George just, like, chuckles to himself when he writes? Like, literally, whores, semen. Like, how did he not? I know I'm, like, looping back around, but, like, how did he not chuckle writing that?
Oh.
He probably did.
Do you know what? I'm a bit sad. A Search of Ice and Fire doesn't have Cover Fire and Blood, so I can't do a quick search on that. Boo. Yeah, I think he probably does. I think he sits and laughs.
I think so.
He's like,
yeah,
haha, I put in a really stupid thing there. I would,
yeah, and like I think it's purposeful, but I think it's funny. I would chuckle to myself.
For sure.
I would chuckle to myself. Okay, so yes, he comes in.
So I don't know if I feel like this is the main time they may have mentioned the Summer Islands, like you say, in trade, but I feel like this is the first time we're meeting Summer Islanders.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I thought we could have a quick chat about the Summer Isles if you wanted.
Of course. I was gonna say my brain in through this chapter went to you listened to Davos Fingers, I think. You know, Scad would always do his like "sacan sus mapas" thing. So like it means like get your map apparently in like Spanish, I think. But I'm not. We're more French than Spanish here, but. That's what so when I was reading this chapter, it was like I could hear that like echoing in my brain, "Sacan sus mapas," but I'm not even saying it right, and it's bad, and I apologize to Spanish people everywhere.
Well, I thought it was beautiful, so
thank you.
I've got too many tabs open on my computer, and it's like refusing to. Why can't it cope with 1,000 tabs
open in my brain?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, same. If my brain can cope, why can't my computer cope? But anyway, the Summer Isles, because we're going to be talking about the two particular locations, and I thought it would be good to talk about them because they like extend the world that we know about. Because we've really only been in Westeros. We've talked a little bit about Valyria.
Into Essos a bit, I think.
And tiny bits about Essos, but not much. And these are going to come... the Summer Isles and another location, which I won't spoil for you yet. They come up massively in this chapter. So if you want to know, I thought I could do a quick summary of the Summer Isles.
Do it.
They are islands. Obviously, Summer Isles gives it a bit of a way. They're south and they're south of Dawn, but like a bit east as well. So southeast. And there's actually like more than 50 of them, and they've got beautiful names, though the largest islands are Walano, Omburo and Jala, and it's got beautiful names for stuff. Like there's also something called the Smiling Sea, which divides them. I just think that's lovely. I'd quite like to go to the Summer Isles. I think they'd be quite great. They've got really
as long as
cool
I had
names.
like a local to teach me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The ways.
But like they've got nice names. They've got Lotus Port. That sounds nice. Last Lament sounds terrifying. And Tall Trees Town, which I kind of feel like they were like, oh, what should we call this place? It's got tall trees in it. Tall Tree Town. Done.
When I picture that place, I think of like, you won't know this, but like Canada has like the Muskokas where it's like just really, and I don't imagine the Summer Islands have really big trees like this. They have big trees, but like, we have really big cedars and pine trees and stuff like that, like giant and maples and stuff like that. So that's what I picture, and the smell of them. I don't know why. Cool. It reminds me of my childhood, but that's what I think of when I hear tall trees.
Do you think of giant redwoods as well? Because they're massive, giant redwoods.
Yeah.
They're huge.
Well, I don't know if I've ever seen like a giant redwood. I've seen old Viking oak trees here, but I don't know that I've seen a giant redwood. Those are more like West Coast.
They are enormous. There's one in... or a couple in Kew Gardens, which is in London, and I have seen them. They're quite young because they were brought over in the early 20th century from, I think, California. And they are absolutely massive. And they've got a thing that demonstrates just how wide a fully grown redwood tree is. And it is it's almost massive, incomprehensibly beautiful. Big. So I don't know if it's redwoods or if it's just... I kind of think of it as more like I feel I feel like it's more tropical kind of trees.
Yes, I do too. It's just like what my brain does from familiar association.
But what I find really interesting about this place, like we know about weirwoods. We've seen them on Hot D and we've talked about them before. They're priestesses of the islands. Seems to be quite a lot of like women doing important jobs on the Summer Islands, which makes me happy as well. Yep. They carve their histories and laws into the trees. They call them talking trees because they tell their histories, which I find fascinating.
It's very cool.
It's a very cool little thing, which I would probably like to bring up in the spoiler section because I just think that's really cool and quite interesting that they carve in their trees. Yeah, they've got quite cool cultures. They've got somewhere called the Isle of Women, which I just think sounds like a sapphic dream.
100%.
100%. It's got rainforests, sandy beaches, mountains. There's panthers, red wolves, monkeys, crocodiles, and just beautiful birds and flowers. Like they speak their own language. It's called the Summer Tongue, and they wear. It sounds amazing to me. And there's a character in it that we meet, and I in the later books with one of these, and I would love to have one of these. So they wear, if they're going out, they will wear, or if they're ashore, they will wear brightly coloured, like a cape of brightly coloured feathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's really cool. So
I would. My wardrobe.
I know. I keep trying to imagine, like, how big are the feathers? Are they like? Is it like?
Yeah. What kind of birds? Well, it makes me think of like birds of paradise. Yeah, because they talk about like the birds, so they might be like big parroty kind of feathers.
Yeah. And a thing about them as well that I love, and you'll love too, and we'll all love. So they worship loads of different gods, but the goddess of love and beauty and fertility is like the most important one, and love making is important, and even a holy skill. And they are expected to serve in temples of love, and even prostitution is like a respectable thing to do, and highborn ladies will do it as well. And it's like they
normalized sex.
They've normalized sex, and they've enjoyed. Sex is good.
Mind blowing.
And there is one thing I want to bring up in the spoiler section as well about how they deal with death, because they drink rum and have sex with each other. They answer death.
They do.
Life. They
do. Yes.
So yeah, I like it. I like their thing. And also they don't. So another reason I like them is because they're a very peaceful place. They do war, but it's like ritualized, and the priests decide, and it's more like a tourney melee. It's not like actual battles. They kind of do it, and it's gender equal, so male and female, they'll meet on a battlefield, and it's blessed by priests. And like the only thing is if you lose, you get exiled. But it's not a real war. It's
fair. It reminds me of did you ever read the Odyssey?
I haven't read the whole thing, but I know it well. Yeah.
So Homer's Odyssey, he goes to Scythia, I think, the island of the Phaeacians, and that's one of the things that they do is like they don't war, but they do almost like what we would think of as like Olympian Games to instead of warring with each other, or like if there's a political dispute or something, not political, but if there's like a dispute, even though that's like a paradise place. That's what this reminds me of, is like modern paradise utopia stuff. We just studied it in class. It's very on my brain, but it's like, plentiful places, lots of food, no war. That means utopic. So I think that's maybe what George is calling to.
Yeah. It sounds really lovely. I actually would quite like to visit. And they're like traders. They have beautiful swan ships. It just sounds, I think that sounds like a really nice place to go. They sound like a good people. They've never tried to conquer other nations. They're not like, I'm going to go and... like. It just sounds like non-patriarchy to me. It's like no pissing contests where we're like, we have to...
And I don't know, you could correct me. Do they have like do they talk at all about sort of their political system? Like, do they have a ruler?
I They might do, yeah. So there have been princesses, and stuff like that.
So there is some type of monarchy.
Yeah, but yeah. So I think that there is some sort of monarchy there. They've had princesses in the past who have been taken as slaves by the Valyrian Freehold and Old Gis, because obviously, being a non-warfaring people, they often get raided by slavers. But they're very good fighters, and they have these bows, amazing bows made of, is it gold heart or something?
Yeah, they have
They've got a special wood that they make their bows out of, which is like the best that you'll ever find. Like, really, really amazing.
Yeah.
So it's got a really interesting history. I won't go into all of it now. It also was visited by Princess Nymeria, if anyone is interested in the stories of Princess Nymeria. And there is a character in the main series who pops up. I don't know if that'll ever become relevant to the actual story, or it's just
who knows. Sometimes, like I said, like, you know, there's a wee little mention of this ship, and suddenly she's back and taking up pages in space. Yeah, so we'll see where George.
But that's a little intro to the Summer Isles. There's more information in the World of Ice and Fire. If you want to read through that, it's some really beautiful artwork as well. So
it is a beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
I do think we should mention that the book is problematic. It was written not by George himself, but by Elio and Linda, who are Linda people. Especially, but Elio, they're problematic people. So don't buy it. Don't buy it new or anything.
Get it secondhand.
I was just going to say, if you see it at a secondhand store, maybe grab it, because the money's not going to them necessarily. But just something to think about. But it is a neat thing to page through. But I'm sure you can find things online as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or we can post more. Yeah, and we can post stuff too. Like if someone has a question, one of our Patreons or something, we can post pictures of stuff in the Discord from the book too. Yeah.
So that's the Summer Islands, and so they're all the people are like, have you been? All the people in the Sunset Sea out the west, are they like Summer Islanders? Is that who they are? And then
Eustace is like, fucked if I know.
Fucked if I know, because well, anyway, we'll get there. So he Eustace Hightower comes off the ship, and he looks like shit. He looks like hammered shit.
Yep.
He's gaunt, sunburnt, and it says he's got lines on his face that had not been there when he sailed. Of course, he's like...
Well, of course, it's 5 years later, too, isn't it? Like, that part made me roll my eyes. I'm like, 5 years. Come on. Yeah. Like, he's not going to come back with lines on his face.
Yeah, of course he is.
It doesn't say scars, it says wrinkles. Like, in 5 years, that can happen. I'm sorry to break it to you.
Yeah. We don't know how old he is, so, like, he might just be at that age where that happens. But anyway, the whole point, though, of him saying this is essentially, like, it's more foreboding. It's more working us up to this trip maybe didn't go as planned, guys. Because he lays it on again, because he's like, oh, only a few people remained of the original crew. So he's really piling it on, like, be prepared for this not to be the mission that we wanted. And then he chatted to the dock people, and they found out these people don't just look like Summer Islanders, they actually are Summer Islanders, that they hired in a place called Sothorios. We will get into Sothorios. I'm not gonna, I don't think I'll talk about it right now, because we just talked about the Summer Islands. I will get into it because we're going to hear about it, basically. We're going to hear about Sothorios.
Yes. Yeah, we'll hear about that.
It's funny to me that it's like Westeros, Essos,
Sothorios. South, yeah. It's like west, south, east.
You can think of like a million weird Targaryen names, but it's like, Westeros, whatever, Essos, whatever. But yeah, so he'd hired lots of people in Sothorios, and he had loads of cargo full of stuff, but he's like, we didn't get to any real lands beyond the Sunset Sea. That was a dream, he said. And he is escorted to his grandsire's high hall, given some wine. I think he probably really needed that drink.
He probably really did. Not, mind you, like, I mean, we're about to find out. Things weren't easy, at least at first, but, like, he still came back with a hull full of riches.
He did.
He did okay for himself.
He did fine.
So, like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, he looks like shit, but also, like, he's probably been living okay for a while.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. And he will in the future, like, for quite a while, because he's just brought a fuck ton of shit
fine.
back. So,
yes.
But basically, he sits down. I like this. I kind of picture it like he sits down by the fire and just starts to tell his story. But apparently, like, there was, like, scribes writing down everything he said. And basically, after that point, gossip, it just spread around Westeros like syphilis in a whorehouse. And, yeah. So, I might read a tiny bit. The voyage had begun as well as he could have hoped, so Eustace said. Once beyond the arbour, Lady Westhill, who's she? That be Alyssa Farman, had steered her.
We remember, with just a little flashback. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you, but I just wanted to like jump back. So, for those of you who are like, "Ooh, what is the Lady Meredith, and where are they gone?" Just a little teeny refresher is the reason that he's coming back from this voyage is he and his brother, instead of turning in Alyssa Farman to the king, decided to join her on her journey to find.
Yeah, they did. They thought she was amazing and wanted to go, didn't they?
Yes.
But anyway, she steered her sun chasers south by southwest, seeking warmer waters and fair winds, and the Lady Meredith and the other ship, the Autumn Moon, had followed. And, you know, if you remember, she sold those dragon eggs to be able to basically build essentially like a
custom-made ship. Really?
Amazing custom-built ship where she was like, I want it to be able to do this, it needs to be able to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And apparently it rocked. It was very fast, and the Hightowers could barely keep up because it was...
Yes.
She knew what she was about, Alyssa Farman. And it was really nice at the beginning. Eustace Hightower says, the Seven was smiling on us at the start. We had the sun by day and the moon by night, and as sweet a wind as man or maid could hope for. We glimpsed fisher folk from time to time, and once a great dark ship that could only have been a whaler out of Ib. There was fish, though they also had dolphins swimming beside them. That's beautiful. How special. They thought they were blessed. I kind of have a... Isn't there a bit in Titanic where they're at the front of the ship and there's dolphins?
Oh, is there a part in Titanic where they're at the front of the ship?
Yeah.
You know, I don't...
There's dolphins like jumping in
like
there.
That. Yeah.
I'm the king of the world. So I've got a kind of Eustace Hightower is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes.
Is standing at the I don't know ship words. Is it
the
prow?
The bow.
The prow.
Bow.
One of them.
Yeah.
At the front. The pointy bit. The pointy bit. Yeah. So they did 12 days of very smooth sailing. And they got far south to the Summer Islands, which confuses me because that is not that. It's like southeast. So it confuses me that they've gone there first. Unless the maps are wrong, which is quite likely. But basically it's further west than any ship had sailed before. Or any ship that had returned to tell the tale. And basically they were like, yeah, we're amazing. Woo! They toasted themselves. They're like, this is amazing. They poured lovely wine and were super happy. But there's a little bit of foreboding again. Once more.
It's a good spot.
Because they had not seen a bird for 4 days. So they were like, yay, we did it.
Which is a big sign.
That's a big sign.
If you're ever out anywhere, like, I think we've seen enough movies to know that, like, if the animals either, like, go wild or suddenly stop, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah, something terrible is happening.
The animals
know. Out of there. Like, no.
So if there's no birds, it probably means that something is in the air that is bad.
Yeah. Basically,
a storm,
and it's like a ship's. It's like a boat. It's like a shippy boaty sign. Like if there's no birds, it means there's like nothing around you, and stuff like that. There's a sentence that I would like us to analyze because I think it's really interesting.
I love it. Let's do it.
The next sentence is the gods hate man's arrogance. That's how it starts, and I find that quite funny that's like this. They're talking about the seven hate man's arrogance, and yet Westerosi society is basically built on man's arrogance.
Yes.
So is all of Westeros doomed because of that? If the gods really hate it, and if the gods really hate it, why why is their culture just completely driven by the arrogance of men? And what I mean by that is kind of the fighting. I mean, we literally had Argilac the Arrogant.
Yes. And he was like, he's like honored almost, like revered, like, oh, like how he did, he stood up to them so well. And his family was honored for his arrogance.
Yeah. They're all trying to take each other's land, petty fights, and
but I think it's the point
best,
is like,
my house is the best, your house isn't as good as mine.
You look at like, oh my god, my brain is just gone right now. But like when you look, like a lot of, and the next part also, right? And the 7-pointed star says that pride goes before a fall. But it's like men are men because they're not gods because they have vices.
Yeah.
And so the gods hate man's arrogance, but it is still fundamental to their society. I don't know. It's just the world, isn't it?
I'm going to just look something up, which is interesting, because it says the 7-pointed star says pride comes before a fall. Isn't that from an Aesop's fable? I feel like that's from something.
I think it might be from an Aesop's fable.
So it's just quite, like, interesting that there's like a...
But I was thinking that with the gods hate man's arrogance, because that also is very Greek, right?
Yeah, yes.
The gods are allowed to be arrogant, but men should not be arrogant towards the gods or try to outdo the gods in any way. And I don't know if pride comes before a fall is from Aesop's fables.
It's not. I'm just looking it up now. It's in an actual book, you guys.
Yeah.
Not the internet. So pride goes before a fall is an adaptation. It's from something in the Bible. It's from Proverbs 16:18. Pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. So it's actually biblical. So that's quite interesting. That he's got.
Well, theoretically, I mean, it does, but a lot of biblical stuff comes from. I mean, obviously, it was at the same time as ancient. Though Aesop may or may not have been a real person, but anyway.
Yeah.
Still, they could have influenced each other, perhaps, but
possibly.
Anyway, yes.
But it's definitely it's a real world thing, and it is in the Bible.
Yes, it is. Yes. Which makes sense that it would be in the 7-pointed star.
Indeed. But basically, it's talking about how, essentially, they were celebrating maybe a little bit too early. Prematurely shot their wad on that. Yes. Don't do anything prematurely. But basically, it didn't go very well after that point, and the wind disappeared, and for 2 weeks, they were just stuck, nowhere to go, and they had to tow them. Does Alyssa Farman's ship Sunchaser, does it have oars? I can't remember how she exactly designed it. So she's got sails and
I believe oars, she has both.
So she had to tow them. How difficult would it be to not only row your own massive ship, but tug two other... I said tug, that's funny. Sorry. Just a rude word.
Tug, thong, seaman. My God.
Yeah, I know.
Just all over the place today.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry, children.
That's what they're here for.
Yeah, but basically they had to pull them along. Mm-hmm. That must have taken...
They lost the wind first.
They did. And, this bit's gross.
This bit's disgusting.
This is rank. And, I mean, they're all signs. So the birds have disappeared, and you've lost the wind. And then they found, a dozen casks of meat. Ooh, a cask of meat. I just love when meat comes in a cask. But they have found it crawling with maggots. Yes.
Yeah, that's bad.
They found it maggots everywhere, ew. Oof. But then, God, it just is this is funny that he says pride before a fall, and we found out that's biblical because it sounds biblical now. They've got disappearing animals, maggoty meat, and then the wind finally returns, but the sky turned red as blood. So...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also very biblical, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny.
And then, essentially, there was a massive, massive storm, which is interesting because one day near sunset, when the sky turned red as blood, because we have a saying, you probably have it too.
Yeah.
It's an old
red
saying.
Sky at night.
Red shepherd's delight. Oh, sailor's delight. We say shepherd's delight. Yeah. Interesting. Mm-hmm. Red sky in the morning, shepherd's warning.
Yeah.
And that was a red sky at night, but it was definitely not a good thing. because
we say red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky in the morning, sailors take warning. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. So you have sailors and we have shepherds.
That's because of my Newfoundlanders, though. That's where that comes from.
That's cool. Oh, interesting. A little bit of education there on the slight differences between the UK and Canada here. If you say something different in the US. Also,
even just like state, provincially, whatever, it might be different in or Europe or whatever. You guys might have different versions.
Oh yeah, it's probably different. It'll be different. It probably won't exist anywhere else. It'll be some weird idiom that only exists to us, and the other people will be like, "What?" But if you are from another country and you have a saying like that, I would absolutely love to know, because this is the kind of shit I live for. So please.
No, it's fun. We're just thinking that our prairies might say shepherds or farmers instead of sailors.
Interesting.
Right?
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. The oceans rose, basically. And they had a storm. And then another one 2 days later. And then a third one. And each one was worse than the last one. Do you want to read his description of the storms?
The waves, that part?
Yeah, the waves.
Yeah. The waves rose higher than our masts, and there was thunder all around, and lightning, such as I had never seen before. Great cracking bolts that burned the eyes. One struck the autumn moon and split her mast from crow's nest down to the deck. In the midst of all the madness, one of my hands screamed that he had seen arms raising from the water. The last thing any captain needs to hear. We had lost all sight of Sunchaser by then. All that remained was my lady and the moon. The sea was washing over our decks with every rise and fall, and the men were being swept over the side, clinging uselessly to the lines. I saw the autumn moon founder with my own eyes. One moment she was there, broken and burning, but there. Then a wave rose up and swallowed her, and I blinked, and she was gone, quick as that. That's all it was. A wave, a monster of a wave. But all my men were screaming, "Kraken, Kraken!" And not a word I said would ever disabuse them.
Wow. Was it a kraken?
Of course it was a kraken. Come on.
I can't tell if you're being serious or not.
I really, in my soul, want to believe it was a kraken, because I just want to see a kraken on page.
I want to see a kraken. I want to see the krakens.
So to me, it was a kraken. Yes. It reminds me
of...
Terrifying. Yeah. And it reminds me of, like, Viking lore. They have a great sea monster. I can't remember what it's called right now. And actually, even in the show Vikings, there's this scene where they're in the ship crossing. It's a later season, and they're crossing to try and get to probably would end up being Newfoundland, but they don't know for sure. But a new place, and there's this little girl, and she keeps thinking she sees a monster rolling in the waves, and then suddenly she's gone.
Yeah. Oh, I literally just got like major shivers. Goosebumps when you said that. That's so creepy. This is a creepy story, like, as well.
Yes, it's meant. This is like feeds George's horror, his love of horror,
definitely.
Right? He places these in some chapters, and we just like live for it when he does. Even though I'm not a horror fan, I do love this stuff.
I know, but he's really good at it. You know,
he's so good at it. Yes, yeah,
and it's really. It sounds shocking and crazy, and it's really sad because obviously he says, like, the next day the sea was so calm and beautiful, you would never have known that there was something that happened, but my brother and his whole ship were dead in the ocean. That's really sad. Like,
yeah, it is very sad. That is the way it goes.
And what I want to know is, and I will probably ask this question over and over again in this section we're doing, is it that the Sunset Sea is actually this dangerous? Is it the kind of thing like you get the Harrenhal curse and blah blah blah, and like it's probably not cursed, but shit happens? Or is it just that kind of thing could happen on any ocean? Do you know what I mean?
Of course, it could happen anywhere. I mean, yeah, it can happen. There's stories today of like ships that go out that don't come home, and there are sailors that have been sailing all their lives, right? Like just any day on the water, you don't know what it's going to bring. Yeah. And it's just that. It's just that. It's also the fact that they don't have... It's not like you're driving on the road and the weather gets bad and you can pull over in the nearest town.
No.
There's nothing really nearby. Like, we find out in a minute that Alyssa Farman did make it to a small grouping of islands, which she discovered. But it's like, the argument comes up in a minute. It's not really spoiling or anything. So she makes it to these islands. Maybe we'll do that.
We'll do that after the break.
First.
Yeah.
We'll
break first, but then we'll do that.
But it's like, beyond that, they have this fight, right? Like, you never know what's going to come up for you.
No.
When you're on a boat. And it's for the same reason that, I mean, this is maybe a comparison, maybe not, but it's for the same reason that Alysanne wouldn't let Jaehaerys just fly to look for Araya and Balerion, right? Yeah. Because you don't know the next place you will have to stop and find refuge.
No.
And even so, like, bad weather or not, you don't know.
That's the why you.
That is, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's interesting that they've never, like, this is the first time. Well, actually, is it the first time, or is, because this is propaganda and it's written by whatever?
Of course.
Is it really the first time that people have gone out to the Sunset Sea this far, like, truly, or is it the first time it's being written about?
It's probably the first time someone came back to write about it, to write about their experience.
I know, but
in modern memory.
But it's interesting that it's like there's a law about it that the Sunset Sea. Oh no, it's too dangerous. No one goes that way.
But that has to exist because people leave and don't come back.
I know,
right?
But is it cursed, or is it just, or is it genuinely a specifically very dangerous ocean? Because obviously there are bits of, like, seas and stuff where they are very dangerous to go.
Yes.
There's a bit. It reminds me. There's a bit. I think it's just South America, below the southern point, like right below the southern point. There's like a really, really dangerous place to have a ship, to be on a boat, and lots of people, when they do like round the world races and stuff, they perish there.
You have to avoid that. There are several.
You can't avoid it. You have to do it, but it's like you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready for terrible, terrible weather and storms and waves, and you have.
There are several actual whirlpools, right? In the oceans, there are spots that have actual whirlpools. So again, this is I don't know if I've mentioned this to you or not, or to our listeners or not. Probably not, because I just did it. Anyone who follows me on Blue Sky would know. But I just added. So I'm a history major, but I added a minor in ancient Greek and Roman studies.
Yeah.
So I am studying that a little bit more intensely, and this term I have a class in it. And one of the things we talk about like the Odyssey, like I talked about earlier, is Odysseus's trial to get home, and he spends a lot of that time on the water, and he battles Poseidon. And they talk about how we tried to associate these places, though, with like places in our known world now. So like where he could have encountered, if this really happened, Poseidon tearing his ship apart, which is what this reminds me of so thoroughly, is like one of his trials in the Odyssey.
Definitely.
Definitely, right? When he leaves the Phaeacians and gets on the boat, and it's suddenly the sea's attacking him, and then Poseidon destroys those people and whatever. But it's trying to find it within the known world and like what it could be. And I feel like this is the same thing. Like, we're trying to answer why was it just that this one spot is really hard to get past, and could there be more? I mean, we learn soon a little bit more, but Westeros is a fascinating place because it's so, not Westeros, but Planetos is fascinating because it's so undiscovered. And I love that George keeps it so ambiguous where you just don't know.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you for that. And just before we finish off the first bit, he just talks about how by that point, Lady Meredith, his ship, was basically awful. It was awful. The sails were all torn, splintered masts. There were 9 missing people. But they tried to make some repairs, but basically, huzzah! Sun Chaser, they catch sight of a ship. That must have been amazing. They were like, another ship! Whoa! And it was actually Sun Chaser who was coming back because she'd gone ahead. She was like, woohoo. She's coming back to find them and help them, which is where I think we should have a break to thank Patreons from the Ice Spiders level.
We would like to thank, with all of our heart, Little Wolfbird, Scad, Julie Beth of Tarth, Emily of the Eyrie, and the King Beyond the Wall. Thank you so much, you guys. And honestly, all of our Patreons, we are just lucky to have all of you guys supporting us. We appreciate everything you do. Every single little thing.
We do. And we really enjoy having the Discord. I really like that.
I really like it too. I like sharing what I'm cooking. And I like trying to hop on and chat. I think I tried a little bit over the holidays.
Yeah,
and
everyone was so busy,
lots of people were. Everyone was busy, yes.
But we do try and do that.
I want to try again.
So we'll try and do it. They'll hop on and chat with us soon.
Maybe I can give a bit more notice. Be like, this day, this time, we're going to do a little call, and we can try and give people time to be there.
It's fun. Maybe. It's nice to get to know people more. Yeah.
It is. I know it is. It's great. I really like it. We have a Patreon that's been a Patreon for a little while. Hope, I think, and then it's been nice to get to know them more on.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like it. So thanks for joining us there, guys.
We would normally at this point have a question. We do actually have 2 questions, but we're going to do them a bit later because they do involve things in the main series. So we're not going to do it we're going to do it before the spoiler section, basically, once we get there, just in case anyone doesn't want to be spoiled on the next story. I mean, like we said earlier, we're not entirely sure who even hops off for the spoiler section, but
I know I'm always so curious. Someone tell me something. Someone give us some feedback.
Yeah.
If you do really like that we try and stay kind of like with a timeline, then let us know. If you think it's totally unnecessary and we should just spoilers all the way through, tell us. Yeah. Tell us that.
That'll be really good to know, actually, because we could just do spoilers.
Because we could just do spoilers all the way through.
Yeah. But we just didn't want to exclude people who may have not read it or have only read Fire and Blood. Because
or just maybe some people, I think brains work differently, and I think some people do like I don't want to get convoluted with the main series or bogged into it. So doing them separately, I think, can be beneficial, but also we try and fail, but we try to keep it so separate when we might not necessarily have to.
No. Indeed.
So just if you have a thought at all about
please
how
give us feedback. That'd be great.
Let us know. Yeah. But for now, we are doing spoiler sections, and the questions will be just prior to, towards the end of the episode.
So we left with the Sun Chaser coming back to save the people on the Lady Meredith, and this is what you referred to earlier, that she hadn't just survived the storm, but she
found something new.
She found some land.
She did. She found, not that it was, Eustace certainly feels like it's nothing, Alyssa definitely feels like it's nothing really to write home about.
No, but it's still new land.
It's land. It is still new land, and it does have some stuff. So I'm trying to find it here.
Mountain Peak?
Yes. So it's, I was just trying to find the little bit where he describes it, and oh, here we go. Where is it? Oh, yeah. 3 small islands. So Lady Alys had made towards it and came upon 3 small islands, a mountain attended by 2 hills, as she put it. And of course, because it was 1, 2, 3, a mountain and 2 hills, she decided to call it Aegon, the islands, Aegon, Rhaenys, and Visenya.
They did. And they stayed there for a bit. They did stay there.
They stayed there for a bit. They were uninhabited islands. There was not a lot there. Springs and streams were plentiful, so the voyagers were able to fill their casks with fresh water.
That's nice.
And there were wild pigs, which is handy. Which is interesting. It kind of makes me think that maybe it was settled at some point if it has animals like that, right?
Maybe. I hadn't thought about
wild
that.
Pigs as well, huge, sluggish grey lizards as big as deer, and trees heavy with nuts and fruit.
Yeah.
But they weren't very big.
No.
The small islands, even the largest of them, was a third of the size of Dragonstone. So to Alys especially, or Alyssa, these were insignificant finds.
I find it really interesting, like, they sampled all of the fruit and the stuff.
I know. I was like, that's safe. Eat those berries. They look fine.
He's like, oh, I've tasted these pink fruits. I'm like, fucking hell, like, did you
have a taste tester?
Die? Do you have a person who's...
And also, like, the tummy upsets, right?
Yeah,
do you ever hear about... I don't know if it was a thing then, but, like, you know, now when you travel somewhere, like, for us, I remember when we went to Cuba, this is a long time ago now, this is, like, almost 15 years ago, my husband and I went to Cuba, and we were told, like, when we landed, like, the guy was, like, our, like, guide to the resort was, like, don't drink the water. Your tummies aren't used to it. Mm-hmm. It's not going to sit well with you. It won't give you a disease like some people act like. It's not parasitic, but you are just not used to what's in it, and your gut flora can't handle it. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, with all the people...
You will get diarrhea.
You will get diarrhea.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, they filled their casks with all the water, and I was like, how many of them got sick from that? But
indeed.
Maybe that's not a thing in Westeros.
Maybe it's not a thing.
Or Planetos.
Well, mate, I don't know. I feel like we had a thing in Dawn, didn't we? When there were the wars in Dawn, where some of the waters were sulfuric, and had terrifying fish in them that would bite you.
That's true, but also like that we talked about that at the time. Like the locals know not to drink that water.
Yeah, exactly. Don't drink that water. That's not. Don't drink the yellow water.
Do not drink the yellow water. Don't eat the yellow snow is a big saying in Canada.
It's a saying here too. When we had so much snow and it's like, oh, there's some yellow patches. Stay away. Stay away, kids.
Stay away from that. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Alys Westhill or Alyssa Farman, you're right. She was interested, but disappointed.
Yeah, I think pleased to have found something in a safe place to settle, but she definitely didn't want to just be like, cool, we found it, and go home. That was not what she was there for.
Yeah.
Eustace felt otherwise. He had just lost a family member.
Yeah.
And he was terrified, and he didn't have a custom-built ship that survives storms as well as her.
And he was more easily satisfied. He's like, this is discovery enough. We've got spices. I've never tasted them. We've got these lovely pink fruits. We've got fortunes. You know, we've discovered something no one else has ever seen before. I'm done, hun.
I'm good. I think to say he's less ambitious is fair. Like she wants to be on the sea.
Yeah.
She built this ship to be on the sea. She fully wants to explore and find everything she can find, and he was just happy with the first discovery. We good. Let's go back.
Yeah. Definitely. It's her dream. It's the thing that she has been dreaming about for ages. It's not his dream.
Yeah. Yeah. I think of it like, we said this before, like Sun Chaser's like her dragon. She wants to keep soaring. She wants to keep looking. Yeah. She's not done. Mm-hmm. She's not done.
And he's like, yeah, but there might just be like... Because they don't know how big Westeros is. He's like, there could be thousands of leagues of nothing. Literally empty ocean. We don't even know... Like, what if we are just sailing and we run out of our stores? And also he's like, my crew, if I told them we're going on, they'd be like, nah, they'd kill him and get someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, be a mutiny. Yeah.
Because they like, we've seen a kraken. We're not going any further.
Absolutely. They are thoroughly spooked.
Yeah.
Beyond a doubt.
Full on. So that's, you're right. They parted waves and Lady Meredith goes home. Alys Westhill goes ever westwards. And it would be great if we could say, and then he just came home.
Yes. And there he was, and he's back. That was the whole story.
And that's the whole
5 pages of that
story. Yeah. But it was pretty...
But that's not what happened.
Awful. Yeah, there was some really big storms.
But they also thought it'd be a good idea to bring one of those lizard things with them.
Yes!
Yes.
And then it bit...
Like Noah's
Ark.
Reminds
me of... it reminds me of a Komodo dragon. Because so basically...
Yes.
It bit... One of the... Who did it bite? The steersman.
Yeah.
His leg turned green and had to be removed.
Yes.
Like, don't fuck with the big giant lizards. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Leave them where they were. Yeah.
But Komodo dragons will do that. They're not as fast as other animals, but what they'll do is they'll do a quick bite on you, or a bite on an animal that they're hunting, and then the poison slowly slows down.
Does that remind you of something? A spoiler?
Wait, what?
A poisoned bite.
A poisoned bite?
Not a literal bite. It's okay. I'll talk about it afterwards. If I remember.
I'm going to write that down. Poison bite. Why can't I think of what you're talking about?
Thank you. Yeah, remind me later, because I'm sleepy, because it's early here, guys.
yeah, Beth's got up early.
Yes.
I'm intrigued. I'm going to kick myself
Well, yeah, you will, because it's like something happening and then a delayed poison.
Oh my god, this is really annoying me. I'm very tired as well. I don't sleep well, so I don't know what's happened to my brain. Oh! I'm there. I've got there.
Good. Yay! That's what Steph says when she gets there. God. Oh!
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what I do. Okay, I figured it out. Sorry, that took a really long time. I was like, what? Yeah, but no, yeah, Komodo dragons, they'll just like bite a big animal's like ankle and then let it slowly poison itself so it's weak, and then it will attack because it's not as fast and strong as other ones. So it reminds me of that, really. Yes.
So that was bad. Yeah. And then they came across a pod of leviathans.
A pod of leviathans.
Which is amazing. That's very cool.
Has he definitely checked that the collective term for leviathans is a pod?
I know, right? I was actually very curious about that myself. But since a leviathan, as far as I know, is mythical or another biblical creature, another trial biblical creature, makes me wonder if there is a way to have a collection of them, what the term is for a bunch of them.
And if leviathans exist, then why not krakens?
Totally.
It says one of them was a huge white bull larger than a ship.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. So he's
sea dragons,
let's change course. Let's get away from the pod of leviathans. Let's go to the Summer Islands.
Can't imagine why you would want to get away from those.
Yeah, but they're heading back. They're heading towards the Summer Islands. So we mentioned those before. They were further south than he realised, and he missed them. He missed the islands. Like, whoops, I missed you.
Whoopsie daisy.
Whoopsie daisies. Yep. And this is where we end up on the coast of Sothorios. Mm-hmm. And I'd love to talk about this Sothorios. Let's talk about what he says, I think, and then we can talk a bit more about Sothorios, because I think his descriptions of what goes on there is amazing, and I think I'd rather it came from his words. We were there for a full year, he told his grandsire, trying to make Lady Meredith seaworthy again. The only reason I want to read it is because there's a funny bit that I'm really excited about saying.
I love it.
They were trying to make the Lady Meredith seaworthy again, for the damage was greater than we'd thought. There were fortunes to be had there as well, though, and we were not blind to that. Emeralds, gold, spices, aye, all that and more. Strange creatures, monkeys that walk like men, men that howl like monkeys, wyverns, basilisks, 100 different sorts of snakes. Deadly, all of them. Some of my men just vanished overnight. The ones who didn't began to die. One was bitten by a fly, a little prick upon his neck. Sorry, funny. Nothing to fear. 3 days later, his skin was sloughing off, and he was bleeding from his ears and cock and arse. That's why I wanted to read it.
I wondered if that was why.
Yeah. Drinking salt water will make a man mad. Every sailor knows that, but the fresh water is no safer. There are worms in it, almost too small to see. If you swallowed them, they laid their eggs inside you. And the fevers. Hardly a day went by when half my men were fit to work. We would have all perished, I think, but some summer islanders passing by came on us. Oh my god. Oh my god. That is so gross. And all of this makes me wonder two things. One, did Araya go there? And is that why she had worms inside her? And two...
I think it's just a Parasite reference.
Two, I wonder, because it's got wyverns and basilisks and things that lay worms inside. And we talked a bit, when we had San Rixian on, we talked a bit about how the Valyrians might have done their genetic engineering to make dragones. And how that might be kind of worms inside you and hatching inside you, and using wyverns and stuff to kind of create that. Radio Westeros talk about it way better on their Valyria episode. Listen to that. But I'm wondering if the Valyrians, which they did, it talks about in the histories of Sothorios that the Valyrians did go there. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if they used some of the creatures that they found there and took them back to Valyria to create more...
Do their genetic modifications.
Do their genetic stuff. Because I just find it really weird that there's like mention of wyverns and basilisks and then these worms that lay their eggs inside you.
Yes, and also wyverns are known to be on Dragonstone, like statues of wyverns on Dragonstone. It's like an ode to them or something, perhaps, which maybe implies that they were a part of Valyrian culture.
Well, I think they were, and I think they like. There's some belief that they like sort of spliced wyverns and worms and stuff to make dragons and stuff. But I'd love to know what other people think about that, because it's just, as we'll discuss later in the spoiler section, I've got questions about why we're learning all this. But anyway, so basically the Summer Islanders came and said, hey, we know that this place is shit. Let's get you out of here. Because they're nice people. Like I said. Nice people.
Yeah. They also, I think they know that like outsiders don't survive well there.
No.
Right.
And Sithorios, just before we move on, Jeebus, that place is wild. So you've had a tiny taste of that. It is a very... It has a... And that's the other thing. It has a place on it called Wyvern Point, which is interesting. So there's like obviously wyverns there. Yes, it was Jaehaerys Belaris was a Valyrian who flew her dragon called Terax to explore Sithorios. And she went farther south than any other person before her. Another amazing person, woman, who's like, yes, let's go see what's south of Sithorios.
Yep.
And she found, it basically is just jungle, deserts and mountains. And she did say, like, the continent is probably as large as Essos, and she's like, it could even have no ending because I flew and flew and flew and flew and flew. Like, she didn't find that. The people who live there are known as brindled men. Their like skin is brindled, like it's like your dog. Your dog's got brindled pattern on his skin.
He's marled, but brindled is a
similar kind of thing. So
brindled is usually black and brown combination on animals anyway. Brindle's black and brown combination. Yeah. He's marled because he's grey and black.
But their description makes me think of like what we think Neanderthals looked like of the people, like big boned, long sloping foreheads, heavy jaws, and the flat noses. Was like they think that's what Neanderthals may have been like, they think. And apparently the people from Sithorios, like the women, can't breed with anyone from outside of Sithorios. So Essos, what's that? Essos and Westeros, they can't breed. Like they'll just get stillbirths and malformed offspring, which also makes me think of Valyrian stuff. We've seen malformed offspring.
Interesting.
Yeah, but like,
you know what also is interesting? So I didn't think of Neanderthals. I thought of even like deep African tribes have different sort of shape to their heads and stuff like that, and the bone structure and stuff is different. But which this part, if we're connecting to like Valyrian bloodlines and stuff, makes me think a little bit of slavery, right? And how Americans would obviously take slaves from Africa, and then a lot of our modern knowledge of gynecological medicine comes from slave women being tortured by white men. Really but that's what it reminds me of a little bit, is like, did Valyrians come over and say, you guys aren't, we can just grab some of you, because they were known for slavery, and experiment on them, and the fact that the women there couldn't breed outside of that, were curious about it and abuse that. So that's what it reminded me of.
It's awful, isn't
in connection to Valeria's blood purification stuff. Eugenics stuff. I'm doing a big eugenics unit, and I'm like, the last thing I actually want to talk about anymore is eugenics. But but it reminds me of it a bit. Not that there's anything, there's like within your own family, like if your attraction is to a person of your culture, that is okay. But the rest of it gets weird. It's weird. Yeah.
Yep. I just find it quite interesting that they have malformed offspring, and so do we meet that Like,
yeah, we see that with Valyrians.
With Valyrians, who
we see it with
Rhaenyra in the show, and obviously in the books later on. Little spoiler, but if you've seen the show, we've covered the show, so you know that. But also, Maegor's children.
Yes,
they all came out malformed and dragony.
Yes.
You know, or maybe like worms, or they had no eyes. Like, you know, it's. I find it.
Yes, it does imply that there's some splicing in the DNA. That's strange. Yeah. So definitely wonder where they got it.
There are some trade towns. I don't understand how you can live there if you can't drink anything or whatever. But there you go.
Well, I think that remember propaganda and remember that it's Eustace saying a lot of this, right? So the locals are like, we're fine here, and he's like, this place is not good. Yeah. So again, it reminds me of like colonialism. Absolutely, and stuff like that. So right. I don't know. That's my take there.
Yeah, but it does sound like a very dangerous place.
Yeah, of course. But like, I mean, you can get like I said earlier, like we can go to a tropical country and get sick just because we don't know what we need to know, right? Or you know, this is the idiot who picked up a strange lizard and took it on his ship. So I wouldn't necessarily take what he says as truth verbatim. He does say there are fortunes to be had as well. So obviously he's an opportunist, and he did find a way to make this trip worthwhile, which also implies that this is a very functioning area. They trade, as you said. They do just fine for themselves. They just need to get these white people off their island.
Yeah. They probably like it that way. Yeah. And also, so they've got so many diseases there. Like, they're so crazy sounding that I'm like, is this propaganda for them? Like, can you all just stay away from our land? They've got blood boils, green fever, dancing plague, sweet rot, bronze pate, the red death, grayscale, brown leg, worm bone, sailor's bane, pus eye, and yellow gum.
Amazing. Those names are incredible. But also, like, think of it as like without the fantastical names.
Yeah.
Think of the fact that, like, you know, when you have children and they go to school, so they're at home and they're in their own, like, you know, bacterial stuff, and then they go anywhere and they get sick. Or like, and then you take them to grandma's house, and then they get sick, and then exactly. So this to me is really similar. It's like these are bugs that you are not used to, and these locals are clearly used to them and have survived them and have immunity to them. But to Eustace, this is like
on the island of Narth, there's butterflies.
Yes, the butterflies.
They poisonous to anyone from outside Narth, but the people who live there are used to it. So
have immunity.
It's quite cool.
Yes. I say Nath. You say Noth?
I say Narth.
Oh. No. Fascinating.
Nath.
I love that.
Let us know what you say. Do you say Nath or Narth? But it's got loads of crazy animals and lizards and massive snakes, like 50 feet long, huge spiders, terrible wyverns. Like, it does sound like a terrifying
Australia.
Yeah, basically. Like, imagine arriving in Australia and you're like, fucking hell, look at the snakes and the bloody spiders.
That's why I'm like, I'm sure the people of Australia are wonderful people. Yeah. And I'm sure it is absolutely beautiful there. And my kids lived the Wiggles for a long time. And I've seen them live twice, but I have no desire to go to Australia. No. I am too afraid of spiders and snakes.
Yes. No, thank you. I've seen some stuff on Instagram where people are like, this is life in Australia, where like an absolutely massive spider, and I'm like, oh my god, like, like, no thank you, no thanks.
I am not strong enough to live in Australia. I'm not.
No, you guys obviously have big pants that you put on every day, and you're like, fucking spiders, mate.
Yeah
Heroes. But the Valyrian Freehold did have a colony there, so they did go there. They did have a colony. They had three times they tried to, and 3 times they failed to have a colony because they abandoned it eventually after a war.
Yes, this also reminds me of slave tradey things.
Yeah, definitely. It's basically racism. and thinking, whoa, what a strange place this is. It must be horrible. And like the empire, the British Empire, you know, people going out to outposts in India and stuff and going, oh, I can't bear it there. I get tummy rot all the time, and the food will just make my tummy hurt and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, guys, sure.
It's the best food in the world. Did you know that butter chicken is actually named like the world's tastiest chicken dish?
Oh my god, it's so good. I love butter chicken.
It is so good. It's
so nice.
I actually like chicken korma more, but I do really like butter chicken.
Butter chicken.
Anyway,
that's Sartorius.
Yes, that is Sartorius.
And that's when Alys Westhill was like, goodbye.
Yes.
I'm out of here. Let's go find out what's west. And she was never seen again, except...
Or was she? ...
And we get like a little bit...
A little jump ahead.
Yeah.
A brief one that George does sometimes.
So
one of our favorite people.
Yes, one of my absolute faves.
House of the Dragon. Mm-hmm. And we had his birth so far, but we haven't really heard of him again since in the book. But we, of course, know him very well from covering House of the Dragon. Corlys Velaryon.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't establish very well, I feel, in the show is that he is a master. Well, we know he's a shipfarer, but he's like a master shipfarer. He's known for going on 9 great voyages, sailing farther than any man of Westeros had ever sailed before.
No, they've mentioned it. Obviously, he's got the whole of the 9, but they don't go into what.
They don't really go into it.
Yeah.
But I love that it's like sailing farther than any man has sailed before, because obviously Alyssa Farman has probably sailed there first.
Exactly. Stupid.
Yeah, so he's done a bunch of voyages, but one of them, his second voyage, he sailed east to reach a Shy by the Shadow, which we haven't really talked about a Shy before either.
No, we haven't. That's another really...
we're not going to go into detail.
No, we'll do that one another time, but that one is
Yes.
another terrifying place that I'm not sure I want to
visit. It is incredible, though. Actually, no, I think we do go, maybe. No, maybe not. Never mind. Don't listen.
Think we have.
Anyway, listen to me now because I'm going to read a little bit.
Okay.
The bleak black city of the Shadow Binders at the edge of the world. There he lost his love and half his crew. I want to talk about that. Yes, spoilers. Yeah. If the tales be true, there as well, in Ashai's harbor, he glimpsed an old and much weathered ship that he would swear forevermore could only have been Sunchaser. How would he know that?
Well, he was, because it says here he was only a boy of 6 at the time.
Well, now he is. Right now he's a boy of 6.
Right now he's a boy of 6 in 59 AC. He was dreaming of the sea, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. Why would he think it was Sunchaser?
Right, that's what I want to know. Like, how that little tease is so brilliantly done. But, but how, did he... I mean, he was very into ships, and what she built was a revolutionary ship.
That's true, actually, yeah.
So, could it just have stood out to him that the way he's heard the ship described could only be this one-of-a-kind ship? Possibly.
Oh, that's
Did he
really good.
Stop there and meet her? Maybe?
Would she still be alive when that happened? That was...
Who knows? It's a Shy by the Shadow where there's shadow binders and shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I have a question for later in the spoiler as well.
I know, right? Yeah. That's the only spoiler I had. Yeah.
That's very cool.
I
hadn't thought about that he might just have recognised it because it's such an unusual ship. Awesome.
Kind.
Oh, and obviously this little bit where we finish. There's a classic. It's a classic, I don't know. It's a classic Fire and Blood
more foreboding.
Thing. It's just it just says but then he was a boy of 6, dreaming of the sea. So we must leave him and turn back once again to the end of autumn of that fateful year when the skies darkened, the winds rose, and winter came again to Westeros. It's like I'm just going to leave that there. We're going to jump back. It's just such a jumpy book, and
I know. We are doing our best, guys. We are doing our best.
But obviously it is foreboding. I should have read that much more foreboding. The fateful year when the skies darkened, the winds rose, and winter came again to Westeros. There we go. Is that better? Is that more foreboding?
Yeah.
But that's the bit. That's where we're finishing.
That's the bit. That's where we're finishing. And I think it's there's enough in there for sure. It was a good call. to just do that little portion. And it's also just like so far removed, it almost feels like a bonus episode. Like we didn't, like I said, we barely talked about any Targaryens.
Yeah, we didn't.
It's crazy. We don't know what's happening in King's Landing right now. We only know what happened in Sithorios.
Yeah,
that's a weird thing to say. We
even met any Westerosi people. Like we've heard tell that he's talking to Donald Hightower, but like, that's it. I quite enjoyed that little, sorry to say this, journey or voyage to a slightly different place to like have a bit.
Yes,
kind of breaks it up. You get
like his biblical epic journey. Lots of
getting away from King's Landing for a little while is nice. Like, other places exist, so. And
George got to play with his horror writing. It was good.
He did. Yeah. So we stand. Before we go to the spoiler section, though, we will do those questions. So if you do not want anything from the main series, then that's totes fine. But we've got two questions relating to the main series.
We do.
And so you can jump off now if you want, or you can just be like, whatever, I'd like to listen to the answers to the questions. Yeah,
because we like the questions. Also, guys, send us questions. We always love questions. I'm excited to have two. And just for clarification, we have one, as usual, from a Patreon, and then we also have one from a YouTube comment. So you can leave questions and comments anywhere, and we will
we'll find them.
We will bring them up and chitty chat with you about them or include them in the episode where we can.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read Marcus's
question? Yeah, you
question?
do the first one from Marcus.
Okay.
Our lovely patron at the Grumpkins and Snarks level.
Yes. So Marcus says, so this is, just to preface it for a second, it is just stemming from the conversation we had last episode with Lady Gwen. A question for you all regarding Stannis burning Shireen, which I agree seems likely to happen here, but I'm unsure about when we think this is likely to take place. It seems as there is no chance of this happening before the battle at the Crofters' village. Shireen is still with Selyse at the wall. So, if Stannis is to burn Shireen, would this be before a battle with the others? I can't see it playing out like the Bad Show, but interested in your thoughts, please.
Such a good question.
I have. Do you have an answer?
I have a couple of answers.
An immediate answer?
I have sort of two theories about how this is going to play out. One is that I'm not sure it will actually be Stannis, although Lady Gwen last time like convinced me. She was like,
I know when she was like Agamemnon and Iphigenia, I was like, oh god damn it!
I know, right?
Ugh.
I know.
Yeah.
So, but if that's not going to happen, because he is in the Crofters village, because he needs to either take Winterfell or maybe he will lose that battle and go retreat to the Night Fort. So it could happen if that goes quickly. If he loses Winterfell to the Boltons or Ramsay, then I imagine he will retreat as quickly as he can back to the wall. And I think Selyse was hoping to move to the Night Fort as soon as possible. Obviously, it's all chaos in Castle Black right now, so God knows how that's going to play out. But one theory I've heard is that, so it could be Stannis doing it if he can get back in time, but if he's like got to take Winterfell, got to establish stuff there. So one theory I've heard is that Shireen will actually be burnt. I would like to remember who said this, and I'm really sorry that I can't right now. I'll see if I can remember. I might get my brain to go back in time, but that Shireen will be burnt in order to pay for Jon's life. Like, only death can pay for life.
To resurrect Jon. I've heard that theory.
Like, so Melisandre will do the same kind of thing like Miri Mazdur, only death can pay for life. It's not just going to be the last the last kiss or whatever it is to rise him as a white. Will she do blood magic and sacrifice Shireen? But I'm just not 100% sure if, because he's quite far away, will he be there in time to do it? Do it.
I think so. I have similar theories. On that theory, the idea that Shireen will be burned, which will end up being the sacrifice for Jon. I think that I like the idea of Agamemnon and like Stannis being sort of the Agamemnon of A Song of Ice and Fire, but I do think that it is important for deviations from myth. Like, they don't have to happen verbatim, but the same story arcs can take place. So it doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, have to be at the hands of Stannis for it to still be representative similarly. Melisandre kind of represents like the goddess in this case, and he, in the myth, he burns Iphigenia to, what is it, Athena, I think, to appease her for the war to come and to get winds across. So what if we just think of Melisandre as like the Athena figure, and he is burning, or she gets burned as a sacrifice to the god actually just takes the sacrifice with her own hands, right? So I think that metaphor works as well, and that would work for Shireen as Jon's, and I think Jon would just be so furious.
Oh God,
he would just lose his fucking shit to know that this happened for him, right?
But if Melisandre decides that Jon is Azor Ahai, she will have. It's what Stannis says to Davos. He's like, "What is one child versus the rest of the kingdom?"
Yeah, of course, absolutely. But it is fascinating because Stannis' last line to Davos is, "If I'm not alive when you get back, do everything in your power to place my daughter on the throne." Which is why it's hard to believe that he. That's why I'm like, would he do? I just don't. Would he actually do that? But so I like the idea of like inverting the myth or changing the myth. Of course, absolutely. And like Lady Gwen made great points last time, right? Talking about that, but I do think that like it just. You can be inspired by or pull on the myth, and you can use it in a different way. We see adaptations do that all the time. So I think I like the idea that Stannis is not involved, also because I like Stannis and I don't want him to be involved. I do. But if it is Stannis, I feel like it would happen not for Winterfell. That seems like far too small of a prize to take the life of his only heir.
Absolutely.
So I feel like he's going to win Winterfell, I think, and he's going to go on sort of like in his power and glory with the North behind him, and then go to the Night Fort, and something weird is going to happen, and it will be the life he will come down to, as he has said before, what is the life of one child for the entire realm, and it will be his own this time, instead of being Robert's bastard, right? And Davos won't be able to save her. And that is also prophetic and important. And it works for the story, I think. Also, though, and I can't remember the entire theory. I mentioned it last time, I did do a panel on the Night Fort for Ice and Fire Con for a virtual year. So it is actually on YouTube. Cool. And Sir Travis, who's like not really in the fandom anymore, but he was on that panel, and he talked about Stannis burning Shireen at the Night Fort, and some of the representation. So if you're interested in just looking for different content that is out there, if you look up Ice and Fire Con on YouTube, the Night Fort panel should be up there, and you can check that out if you're curious.
The only other thing the only other possible, because I keep thinking, okay, so if he doesn't do it to raise Jon, if she doesn't get burnt, whether it's Stannis or not, why would Shireen be burnt? I can't. The only other
it would have to be for the War of the Living. Like, it would have to be for a big reason.
Or if you're going to go in a dark way. So I mentioned it last time when we were in with Lady Gwyn, that obviously the Night Fort is a very creepy place. We talked about that, and that was where the was that where the Night's King was? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So where the Night's King was. So it's possible, in my head, because I think the story of the others and why they're there is more complicated than just simply they are bad, because George doesn't write these are baddies doing bad things.
No, totally.
And we will beat the baddies. So there's a possibility that some deal might need to be struck, or maybe Stannis and Selyse suffer from something happening at the Night Fort, some weird shit going on there. Magic, maybe. Because
a weird thought.
Yeah, but because you've got the Black Gate there, and that's where people would probably, when the Night's King and Queen would have had their babies, they said they sacrificed them to the others, and there's a theory that they would put them down that like well and basically sacrifice them on the other side, and the others would come and collect them.
Mm-hmm. Like Craster,
exactly. And is Shireen going to be burnt or sacrificed to them, to the others?
But what if it's not burnt? Yeah, like what if it's different? What if she's sacrificed to be turned? Or something, like to be like a bridge character between the worlds or something. Because
I do think I think the Night Fort and the Blackgate are really interesting, and I want to do some Patreon content on this because we've talked a lot about Alysanne's journeys, and I want to do I'm going to do a bonus episode about Alysanne, and actually the effect of one of the things we talked about last time again with Lady Gwyn was the banning of the right of the first night. Yep. Because I wondered if...
I'm about to pour some tea, just so no one thinks you always say no one's having a pee in the background, just in case it picks up. Not having a wee.
Yeah, if the right of the first night was so that people could continue to make unwanted sacrifices to the others, put down the Blackgate, and obviously if Alysanne has banned that, then there's no more babies. But anyway, that's going to be a Patreon bonus episode, so look forward to that. I could think about this question for ages. I find the possibility that Stannis will burn Shireen fascinating.
Me too.
And horrifying. The whole thing.
I really don't want him to. I really want to be right about it being Mel and being sort of like the actual goddess taking instead of the sacrifice of giving.
Yeah.
But thematically, I like it being for the War for the Dawn a lot more than for Jon's life.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But if it is for Jon's life, though, if he takes Winterfell and has to get back up to the Night Fort in winter, and there's no Stark in Winterfell, and I think it's not coincidence that they're having the worst winter there, like way more than anywhere else.
Yeah.
And he's got to get all the way back to the Night Fort. How long, if it is for Jon, like how long is Jon going to be dead for then? Because that would be weeks and weeks, months maybe.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that long. But mind you, like, this is a Radio Westeros theory that maybe he will be preserved in the ice cells.
Yeah, I like that theory too. But then how would we get chapters where it's just him inside the wolf, or we get like dreams or something?
I think so.
Like Bran's coma.
I think we all agree that Jon is going into, I mean, he is in Ghost. He says his last word, I think it's Ghost, because he reaches out and finds him.
For sure.
So he lives on that way.
Yeah.
For sure.
But it's just like, what's he going to come back like? Because the longer he's inside Ghost, the more wolfy he will become.
Yes.
That's what Jojen says.
But that is maybe a thing. You know how there's the kill the man or kill the boy and let the man be born thing? Like, maybe what is needed of Jon, and you see this a lot in Dany's arc, is just to become less human.
Remember who you are, Daenerys. The dragons do. And it's like, remember who you are, Jon. You are actually a Stark, and you're also a dragon.
And you're a dragon, so you're both. So yeah, I think that like maybe that's the point, is like he needs to come back a little bit more brutal than he was before, a little bit more willing to make some of those hard sacrifices or.
He did make a lot of hard choices.
He made a lot of hard choices. Yeah. Yes.
It's so exciting to see. Ooh.
Oh god!
When is Winds of Winter coming out?
I do think we will get wins. I do. I don't know that we'll get Dream of Spring, but I do believe we'll get wins.
I don't know. But anyway,
that's let us know what you think, Marcus. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and everybody. Let us know what you think, and if you think either or any of these options that we've put forward could be viable, or if you like them, let us know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What do you think? While we're here, we can go on to the question that we got from YouTube, from a very nice person called @Nada3131, who was busy doing exams and stuff. And
relatable.
Yes, I know. I thought you'd relate to that. But they said, Would you rather have as a best friend and steadfast companion while trying to survive in Westeros? So they've given us a choice of the Ghost of Highheart, Patchface, or Quaithe. So who would you prefer?
The Ghost of Highheart. I'm terrified of clowns. Patchface being in there is like...
creeps me the hell out.
Terrifying.
I could never be Patchface.
He probably is fine. Because, like, Shireen likes him. And, like, so obviously, he's probably fine.
Yeah, but Shireen is...
fine. If I say that enough, I won't have nightmares about him.
Shireen is affected by grayscale, so maybe part of her...
Yeah, but I just think, like, that's the point, is that, like, you know, this pure, beautiful child who is... you know, physically marred, but still is this, you know, loving, young, wonderful person, sees the good in him, and he's not creepy or terrible to her.
No, that's true.
Usually.
But then there's Mel's vision.
Brady Westeros talk about that. Yeah, but again, like, Mel's wrong all the time.
That's true.
Like, talk about an unreliable narrator, right?
Yeah.
So that's tricky, but I don't like clowns. I'm terrified of clowns. Often I am.
Yeah.
If I say the word clown, I shudder. I don't like them.
I don't like him.
So, and Quaithe is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
That was the other one, right? Was it Quaithe?
Quaithe, yeah.
Yeah. Quaithe is fascinating, but I would pick the Ghost of Highheart for sure. Even though it would be, I'd probably need to be kind of high or drunk a lot to like handle the visions that she sees.
Yeah.
But I still think she was like BFFs with Jenny of Oldstones.
Yeah.
You know?
Good point.
So I would pick her for sure. I feel like you agree with me. I feel like you would also pick her.
I am torn between her and Quaithe.
Maybe
I
Quaithe.
think I would find Quaithe... If Quaithe only spoke to me in her riddles, I'd lose my shit. Like, I just need... Can you just give me one sentence that is not... Beware the mummers draggle... Like, just say... Can we just,
what do you want for dinner?
Chat?
The sun rises in the east. Okay, exactly. I'm going to gouge your eyes out.
Whatever. Okay. I'm going to make pasta. So, I think it would drive me a bit... But, I mean, it's not like the Ghost of Highheart doesn't, but she does talk in normal sentences from time to time.
Yes. Yeah.
So I would.
The Ghost of Highheart's cool.
Music.
The Ghost of Highheart's like.
She likes music.
Yeah, she loves music. She's chill. She's kind of like your like
she's a bit cheeky.
little witchy aunt who kind of
Yes.
comes over and says things to you, and you're like, oh, okay. She reminds me of like an indigenous elder.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely would like to know more about Jenny of Oldstones. So I chat to her about that quite a bit. And she's associated with like the old gods and stuff, and she's probably a child of the forest, so
yeah, we're like from beyond the wall. It's pretty on brand for us to choose her.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. I like it. So yeah, probably the Ghost of Highheart, and second choice would be Quaithe. Patchface.
I would commit suicide before spending a lot of time with Patchface.
I think so too.
Probably.
Like, I just would.
It's just because I'm so afraid of clowns. I've talked about my trip to Cuba a lot. It's funny. It's almost like I need a vacation or something. So when my husband and I went to Cuba, there was a play one night, and sort of like to like get people to go out to the play on the resort, they would have the actors in the play hold the doors open to the dinner buffet. So we're like, oh yeah, we'll go to that play. Totally cool. Totally fine. That would be so fun. Nice thing to do. And as we're walking into the dinner buffet, holding my door open is a clown. And I was like, no. And I had to like hide behind him to get in. And then, of course, the actors need to eat before the play. And where does the clown come and sit?
Oh, no.
Literally right behind me. Behind me.
No, I'm sorry.
I was done.
I feel a bit physically ill thinking about that.
I'm so scared of them, though. Like probably this seems insane, but like I'm so scared of clowns. It would be like a giant spider or a giant snake coming and sitting right beside me. Like I can't.
No,
I can't do it.
I'm with you.
I probably would jump into the ocean if I had to spend an extended amount of time with Patchface. Yeah, just because of the I think it's mostly because of the motley on his face. Like, because Moonboy doesn't scare me the same as Patchface does, but it's the paint on his face that scares me.
The paint on his face and his weird little things. Yeah, he gives me the mega creeps. So I think we've definitely ruled out Patchface. It's possible that we've
possible.
Yeah. So
who would you guys hang out with?
Yeah, who would you hang out with?
Answer
Especially
that
you,
question
Nada 3131. Who would you hang out with? Let us know.
Let us know.
We want to know. But that's those questions, and that's where we'll move into a few spoilers. We haven't got very many, so it'll be a little section.
It will. If you do not want spoilers, if you want to jump off now, feel free. If you are curious what minor spoilers we have here, stay on the line.
Stay on
Your
the
call
line.
is being connected. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And if you're going, goodbye, and we'll see you next time.
And we'll see you next time. Yes, thanks for listening.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Spoilers.
Yes, I think you caught on to what I was talking about.
I caught on to that.
The bite and the creeping poison. I sure was, yeah.
Okay. I don't know why that took me so long. I was like, what?
What is she talking about?
I know. I'm like, I don't understand why. I think I'm just...
It makes me wonder, though, if some of the poison that they have in Dorne comes from creatures like that, though.
Oh, probably, yeah.
Yeah, like, is it all alchemy, or does some of it come from creatures? Well,
they said it was, like, thickened somehow. But
and manticore venom exists, too.
Yeah, I know. So I don't know. Be interesting to know. I don't think we'll ever find out, but...
No.
Probably. No. I have a very existential question to ask about this. Okay. Why? That's the question, is why? What's the point of this? Why are we learning it? Is it just world building?
Yeah.
Will it become relevant? Important? Do we, why do we know what's west of Westeros? Why do we need to know that Alyssa Farman went there? And why do we need to know about... I mean, the only reason I can think of Sithorios is maybe if the Valyrians went there and we're learning more about how they made dragons, which I do wonder. Maybe. I do think is a possibility. Mm-hmm. And the other sort of tinfoil thing is Alyssa Farman Quaithe? Or is she waiting,
that was mine. Yeah.
In the shadows?
She Quaithe.
Is that why Daenerys needs to go to a Shy by the Shadow? Is Alyssa waiting there for her, or is she
Sun Chaser? I keep trying to think if Sun Chaser has any other strong connections to anything in the current story, apart from it just makes me think of Dorne, which isn't relevant really to Daenerys' story. But I have wondered if Alyssa Farman was Quaithe. I think we're meant to, but it sort of reminds me, fascinatingly, if you think of Alyssa Farman and this journey in general. Obviously, her story connects to Daenerys directly already with the dragon eggs.
Because of the dragon.
Exactly. So did George do it again and make her Quaithe because the dragon eggs? She has the dragon eggs because of her. Sure, he has a direct link to it. Yeah.
And that's why she's there, because she's also was in love with her great whatever auntie, Irina. So she's got affection for Daenerys, but also it's her bloody dragon eggs, man.
It's her dragon eggs. Yep.
So that's a possibility for me as why we've got this.
I like it being Quaithe, though. It is kind of interesting because, like we said, she has an investment in the Targaryens and specifically in these dragon eggs. So it is kind of a neat idea. It also takes it away from when you read the main series and you're trying to riddle out who Quaithe could be. I think Radio Westeros had the idea that maybe it was Daenerys' mother. And so this sort of just creates gives us the opportunity to have another figure that is adjacent to, but not actually a Targaryen, but still has, like I said, an investment in Daenerys' story.
Because Quaithe, it's never mentioned that her hair is Valyrian, is it? Because we just don't see her face.
No, well, I think she's totally, I think it's just mask, because she's in that lacquer mask, isn't she? We don't even see her. I think she's totally covered.
Is it not just her face that's covered?
I think she's in a robe with a mask.
Oh. I'm going to look up images of Quaithe.
I know, both of us are searching now. Yeah, I feel like she's always shown covered completely. I wonder if there's a description of her.
There will have been. Quaithe wears a dark red lacquer wooden mask. In the picture by Amok, she has got a...
Every picture I see, she's hooded. Yeah. She wears a long hooded robe.
All behind the mask, wet and shiny.
So... Which, of course, makes you think immediately that you know this person, but that we're being hidden this person. But maybe we didn't know them.
This is creepy.
But George didn't know.
There's some really creepy imagery. Yeah.
There's very creepy images of Quaithe,
Wow.
Yeah. And just, the Shadowbinder stuff. But it's interesting because you think of, the type of spirit Alyssa Farman is.
Yeah.
And just that she keeps wanting to know more and see more. And, like, wouldn't you just continue to see it by the shadow? And if you could use the glass candles, like, all of that just seems like an extension of knowledge that she would already be curious about.
For sure. Yeah, and if she's gone to a shy by the shadow and been fascinated by the magic.
And she's willing. Like, she's very willing to do what it takes to get what she wants to, right? Like, So, yeah. Anyway, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I like that too. But you had your big why, like, why are we learning all this? And I also thought, why are we viewing suddenly, what's his name? Eustace Hightower as a, you know, with biblical and epic reference all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Why this man? Why is this man going through this, you know, Greek epic, or having biblical, like, literally saying lines from the Bible and experiencing creatures from the Bible? Like, what is it about the Hightowers that could mean, if anything?
Well, they are heavily related to the seven-pointed star and the faith of the seven. But I'm not entirely sure. I think Joe Magician has a theory that the Hightowers were originally pirates. And that's how they became so rich. Pirates who bettered themselves, essentially. So it could be, if that's true, he has some really good evidence for it as well. It's not that crazy. If someone can find that theory and listen to it, then do, because it's quite a good one. If it might be a hint to that kind of history of sailing the seven seas and adventures, and possibly, but I'm not entirely sure why we're hearing it from. Or maybe it's just literally a literary device for us to get to know the Hightowers. Like, let's just bring the Hightowers in and make them a bit more, because they're going to come in importantly
to play
very soon
with Otto.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I wondered if it's just like kind of lead into dance propaganda, which is possible. Definitely possible. But then also, like, you have, you know, more magic lore and untouchability of the Hightowers in A Song of Ice and Fire, right? Like, they're present but not present, and therefore kind of in this weird untouchable place with the Mad Mage and Lord Leighton and stuff. So I'm very curious about the Hightowers. I'm very curious about them. I was speaking about my Nightfort panel for Ice and Fire Con. I also did a Hightowers panel for Ice and Fire Con one year that was not recorded, but we got to talk a bit about them and their mythos and stuff. It's fascinating. So I'm curious about that. I had never put the biblical or epic connections to it before. That's what higher education does, people. It makes you make connections to things that obviously, and I do think that it's clear that George was influenced there by that stuff. So I'm curious. I want to know why. Why is that there? What's the intention?
Indeed. I've only got a few little ones. Have you got any more?
Who was the love that Corlys lost at a shy?
What's that about?
Could it be the boy's mum? Mouse.
Oh. Doesn't she live in what's name?
We have no idea, really, do we?
I thought she lived in Hull.
She was a sailor, so I don't know that she lived in any one place.
Oh my goodness me.
And obviously, like, we've talked about this before, but, like, I think we talked about this just with Lady Gwen too. Like, the Balerians, the boys. So obviously, we saw in House of the Dragon that Adam gets a dragon, and Alan does not. And so that dragon blood, though, does not come from Corlys.
No.
So it probably comes from their mother. Corlys touches on it in the show. I admit to knowing little of your mother's parentage or heritage or whatever he says. And so whatever. But yeah, so it would have to come from them or the mother.
Unless it is actually Laenor, who's actually the dad. But I doubt it, because he was gay and could not father children with Rhaenyra. So
well, and that's but yeah, in the show, definitely they've made it proof that it's Corlys. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. The love that was lost, the only other person I can think of that he loved was their mum. So did something happen to her when they traveled to Asshai?
God. Are they making a show about the 9 voyages? Because that would be great.
Right.
Although they've obviously established that she was someone else, but yeah, in the show. But
if on that Quaithe line of thinking, if he lost his love there, what if that means she stayed? What if she has some link to Targaryen lineage because she created a dragon rider? What if she's Quaithe?
Oh my god.
Put on your tinfoil hats, people.
Who just thought it would be me? Hats. Ooh, that's... Oh, wow. I love it when you tinfoil me. It's great. That sounds really kinky. Tinfoil me, baby.
Tinfoil me. We've never met in person, but when we do, I'm a tinfoil you.
Please do. I can't wait. I've got stores of tinfoil from Christmas, so you can cover me in it. Oh, we were going to have a tinfoil hat making competition with our Patreons. We need to make that happen.
We should do that. Yeah, we need to definitely do that. Yes. Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah. I think I have to say that Liz is like the one to beat. Oh, she bedazzles everything. Yes. She's incredible. Yeah. She's so talented.
For sure. Oh man. Okay.
So, yeah. What I actually need is I don't need a competition. I am not good at crafting anything. Liz, can you make us tinfoil hats? Yes. Yeah. Just make Steph and I tinfoil hats. Please.
I don't know how you would get one of them to Scotland and one of them to Canada. You might have to come in person and deliver them, which I'm...
Oh, no, that sounds terrible.
Sounds amazing.
I don't know that would make it through security on the airplanes.
Why have you got these...
To wear my hat on the plane.
Excuse me, miss. Why have you got... What is this bag of tinfoil you have here?
What is this? Yeah.
Could you please explain?
It would be easy to explain. Why are you wearing a tinfoil hat on the plane? Yeah. They're in my head, man. They're in my head.
Where do you think I put all my drugs? Yeah.
Yeah. To keep the conspiracy theories out.
Exactly.
Yes. Anyway. Or in our case. Yeah. Yes. Anyway. So that was my other wee little...
I think I've got two.
Tangent.
I've got two. That's it. One of them...
What you got?
One of them is the talking trees. That they carve the histories into the trees. And I love it so much. And the parallel to the Weirwoods being the children of the forest go and greenseers go into the weir, and like that's where their history and their stories and their memories go into.
Reside in the tree. Yeah.
And I'm wondering, are the talking it doesn't say, but are the talking trees the the shade of the evening trees? Are they like the opposites?
I wondered that too. Is there like the connection to the shade of the evening trees? Yes.
The opposite to the Weirwoods. Yeah. So I just think it's really interesting that you've got Westeros being really quite far away and very different from the Summer Isles, but you have this sort of not quite parallel, but parallel-ish kind of idea that the trees have the history and the trees have the stories, the trees are watching, the trees is where the information is.
Yeah. The trees are the memory. Yeah.
I wonder if they have their own version of Children of the Forest, because it's priestesses that they carve into do the carving. So are they...
Yes.
Well, it's just a question. I'd love to know what people think about that.
I would love to know what people think about that too. I don't know. I don't have a lot to say. I think there has to be a connection, or I was just thinking about how world lores can connect, even though it doesn't seem like there's ways for them to have done so. Like the unicorn is a creature that exists in many different lores, even though we don't have any evidence that they ever existed.
But there's loads of lores in Planetos that, like, you've got the Azor Ahai thing from somewhere in Essos, and the Valyrians call it the prince that was promised, and then you've got the Bloodstone Emperor, which is a very similar... They're all very similar stories of the same kind of thing. There's, like, various different long nights mentioned in different cultures, and... heroes, the last heroes, the person who's going to come along or who's going to bring about this.
Yeah.
So I think it's but it's just kind of like, I wonder why. I just completely wonder why the mythology of this of it is so very similar. And obviously you have some in the real world, Roman mythology is very similar to Greek mythology.
Yeah. Well, Roman is because it's an evolution of, but like you have a lot of Norwegian or European mythology that is also very similar to Greek, and even Indian and Hindu or not Hindu, Hindu mythology and gods and stuff and customs resemble a lot of Greek things. So, and those are ones that you would think are separate, but there are ones that are very similar as well.
So I'm just wondering if George's sort of
transfer of knowledge or
if he's drawing on that maybe when he's doing it. Let's end on a silly and maybe gross one. So.
Oh, good. Is it about the guy's cock?
No, I don't need to. I mean, that just reminds me of the Ebola virus, but basically is what they've got there.
The plague reminded me of the plague.
I think actually the skin sloughing off is more disgusting to me. But no, the one is how the Summer Islanders deal with death, and they drink rum, and they have sex, and obviously we see that in A Feast for Crows with Sam and Gilly. That's when I know you have problems with that section and what Sam does, but
you know what's very funny about it though is that chapter is one of my favorite chapters.
It's a great chapter, and
I actually did a summary for Davil's Fingers on that chapter, like just a verbal one way before they ever had a guest on. I got to write a chapter summary. That's awesome. For that, and I picked that chapter to write about. So I have problems with it because I've really analyzed it personally, but I do still love that moment for them that happens, and Gilly's moments there are very important. But that custom is great. We celebrate death with life. You remember why you live when you lose somebody.
I know. I love it.
Brilliant.
Although,
yes,
can I put a tiny bit of tinfoil?
Poor Maester Aemon's body
in the rum,
in the cask of rum. Yeah,
but I have a tiny tinfoil on it. Teeny tiny, just a little patch of tinfoil on my head, like a fascinator rather than a hat.
Perfect.
So they say when, like you say, like we celebrate life with death. We celebrate
death with life.
Yeah, but it's like the opposite is only death pays for life. So when someone dies and you go and have sex and make a baby, is that some kind of weird blood magic because you are literally using a death to go and make a life? Has death paid for life? Is life paying for death?
Have you ever read like dream theory? No. They say if you're pregnant or have a baby, it means someone you know is going to die in real life.
Ooh.
So it's like death means a rebirth. Same with like when you do tarot. The death card always seems like it's terrifying, but it's not. It just means a big transition or change or rebirth or whatever. That's what that reminds me of, is like just those sort of like forewarnings that you might be losing someone, but it also means rebirth. You know, it's endless. It's an endless cycle.
But it's like the Summer Islanders are lovely people, and they've tipped it on its head. Instead of only death can pay for life, they're like, let's celebrate death with life. It's like we don't want to think of it as this deep, dark, terrifying thing.
As this give and take thing.
It's just a beautiful thing. It's a cycle. Yes. But that's it. That's all my thoughts. That's all the spoilers I have. Good. I enjoyed this.
I loved it.
This is good. It was genuinely nice to have a wee holiday away from the shenanigans of King's Landing. And it's going to get worse.
Yes,
as we've said again, winter is fucking coming. It's going to get horrible.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of if we have any more little like sojourns into different areas like this again, and I feel like not this.
Not that I can think of the top of my head.
But yeah, I don't think we do. I think this is like the last little like
trip away.
Big divergence from away.
Well, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this little adventure, little journey.
Me too.
If you have any questions about what we've talked about, if you have any comments, please do get in touch. Find us on Blue Sky. We're there on Twitter. I actually haven't checked our Twitter account in ages.
Blue Sky's better. Email.
And obviously on YouTube. You can find us there too.
Yes.
So even though this was 5 pages, we've still been at this for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So
yeah. Yep.
Thank you, George, for providing us with so much content to pour over.
So much to talk about.
And there's going to be even more. Next time is going to be quite depressing. I'm not looking forward to it. It's going to be sad.
Yeah. So, yes.
So make sure when you're listening to that one, make sure you've got like a cozy blanket and a hot chocolate cup of cocoa.
Yeah, we'll like do a little warning, like get comfy and do things for therapy and
some self-care. Have a nice hot bath. Have someone near you who likes you.
Listen to us in the tub. Take us in the bath with you.
Make sure your pet's nearby.
Sit by a fire.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. Thanks for listening, guys.
Chat to you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.